All right, so we're back with the turbo Denali here, and last week was just a horrible week. It was, one of those weeks where you kind of question, why do I do this, and let me go get a job and work for a boss. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. Just, again, dealing with, all these other everything just all at once. That's how it goes. People don't understand running your own deal, doing your own thing, being the only person doing everything. It's a lot, and that's why I try not to take too many on at once. And unfortunately, I've ended up with just a couple at once, and then you got other people calling wanting to bring their stuff, and thinking that they can, you know, oh well, it just won't take you but a second, and then bring it by, and then it's just not fun dealing with that part of it. I like to do the building part of it, and unfortunately, I'm not as far along with this as I want to be, just for the fact of dealing with all the other background stuff going on. Um, so last week I did drop the pan, did the pan gasket, did the pickup tube, the oil pump. We had to switch the front cover out because this was VVT. New cam retention plate, the Torquenator camshaft, the 200, 205, 550, 550 cam, the new oil pump. He's got an underdrive balancer on it down there. Drilled and tapped the pan. Got this side done on the valve springs. My valve spring tool is for cathedral, and the rec port heads are enough different where I had to modify the tool and figure all that out to get it done. But I got this side done, so I'm about to get this side done, do my fuel rails, my fuel system, and then and regulator and all, and figure out what I need for that. So I want to give a huge thanks to VS Racing for their oil feed and drain kit. I was able to use 5% of their kit. Thanks, VS. How many of these kits do you sell? The only thing I was able to use out of their kit was the oil feed hose. They didn't send the fitting for the feed down there, and the fitting they sent for up here doesn't even fit their turbo. And then the oil drain fitting, that was correct. Of course, it doesn't come with bolts, which, what does. Then the fittings that they provided and the length of hose I did isn't long enough to reach. So, what is the extra couple inches, half a foot of hose for the money you're paying for their oil feed and drain kit? That's why I typically just build my own feed and drain, because theirs, you're paying that money for their kit, and with a kit, I expect nothing to work, and typically I'm correct. So I'm a little upset about that, because one fitting can keep you from finishing a job, and that just the shortcomings of this oil feed and drain kit is horrible. So I typically use this oil rated hose, and then use push lock, and then use a 45 on the turbo side, and then roll around the front and then into the front of the pan. But like I say, the little hose they sent, as soon as I saw it, I was like, there's no way this is long enough. So he got a oil catch can set up for this, which I think is obviously I think it's a good idea. I told him to get it. So you want to make sure you have proper ventilation of the crankcase, because otherwise if you get build up pressure in the crankcase, you'll start pushing seals out. So it replaces the oil cap with a -10 fitting, and then this valve cover over here I'll drill it out on the back and put a half inch pipe to -10 fitting, and then we'll run the hoses together and put the catch can over here somewhere, and then we'll know we have proper ventilation of the crankcase. But his little deal he bought for that comes with the fittings, and I think they're only like female AN fittings. And so it came with 10 feet of hose. So what I'm going to do is take VS's short hose that won't reach anything. I don't know where they're expecting you to reach to drain it, but I'll pull their hose off and use it for the catch can, and then use the hose length I need from his kit to catch my length and get the oil drain finished, and then get my oil feed on there. And then I gotta order the fittings. I think it's 8 inch by -4 for those, and I'm kind of surprised that their feed fitting didn't fit the one they sent. Well, I mean, it's their turbo, and then the other fitting for the oil pan they send you as a weld-on fitting. Again, how many of the people that do this, for a hobby style, are gonna do a weld-in bung? I mean, it's so much easier to just drill and tap the pan. The only problem with doing that is if you do it in the vehicle, you will get a lot of shavings in the pan unless you're very careful. Pack the tap with grease so it catches all the shavings, and then maybe try to vacuum as you're doing it or something. Or have the pan empty and then spray it with brake clean because you don't want all those oil shavings in there, because they'll get in your pickup tube, and then that can be catastrophic. So anyway, the other thing let's talk about is, while we're on poor quality, so he bought a crossover for this, and I don't know where he got it from. He had sent me a picture of one. I think it was from Summit or something, but it's a 3-bolt flange to go on this side, and then it's 3 pieces slip fit, and then comes over here and has a V-band to go in the log manifold, and wasn't even close to fitting. Again, when I buy something like that, I fully expect it not to bolt on and fit, and 99.9% of the times I'm correct. So I had to cut that all up, redo it, fit it all up, weld it together, and it's just my whole reasoning for buying something like that would be to save me time to just bolt it on and be done with it. But it wasn't even close to fitting, unless you cut it in half and add and remove material to it. So and I don't know which one he ordered or what he paid for it, but going back to that's just what a lot of people don't understand about this is I do things a certain way. I know what I like to order and what I like to buy to do one of these builds, and that's why I try to video these and show what I'm doing so people can see what to get, what they need and stuff. And while we're on that, there's a term that came out, I don't know, a year or two ago. It's called an ask hole, where people just bombard you with questions, go on Facebook and ask what's the best turbo, what's the best cam, what's the best. Well, and then they give minimal information to even respond to their question. So when I'm doing something, I try to research it to death. I try to look for similar combos, try to look for somebody else that's done it. If I have a question, I just try to research it the best I can, because you will not see me on Facebook asking your group, what should I do? I don't do that, and I don't think people should do that. Back in the days of the forums, the forums, in my opinion, are a lot easier to search. People used to be a lot more helpful with this, because back then, you had people just coming into this and doing stuff and trying stuff, and they were more willing to help. Whereas nowadays, this has been done so many times, you shouldn't be asking any questions. You should just go online, watch videos, read old forums, and just find your own answer. Because, and I don't mind helping people, but if you're going to ask me questions that have been answered a million times, I'm not really prone to trying to help you out. Because even in the videos I do, I mean, again, I try to give you some part numbers when I have them, and tell you what cam I'm running in this one, and not only is it for your benefit, it's for me, because the ones it keeps up with the ones I do, and then I can be like, well, which cam did I use in that one, or which turbo, or whatever. It's good as a reference for me to go back and look at. But also, it gives you real world experience. And that's what I try to speak from, is stuff that I have actually done, and stuff that I have tried, and stuff that I know. Because, when people go on there and ask people's opinion on a public group, I mean, there's no telling what kind of answers you're going to get. And you also don't know the validity of their response, because anybody can type anything on the internet and it's there, and you have no way of knowing if it's good information or bad information. And again, I try to speak from experience. I'm not gonna say hearsay. Before the internet and all that, you know what people used to do? Go buy parts and try them. We had a guy, he had a Mercury Capri, and it had a 289 high compression engine in it, and a solid flat tappet cam, had a Torquer 289 intake on it. And that guy would try anything and everything. I mean, he was very meticulous in his work, and he tested. And this was, before draggies and stuff like that, so you didn't have a way to do something, go out and see exactly what it ran, and then make a change, and then go out and see if you did better or worse. You had to go by your seat of the pants, or the drag strip. And he was a street racer, and he would tear people up on the streets with that little Capri. Had a C4 in it, and he would turn that little 289 to, I've heard stories, 8,000 RPM and stuff. I mean, he knew the car, because he worked on it and he tried stuff. And there wasn't a internet to go ask, how should I do this or how should I do that? He just tried stuff, and that's how people learn, is by trying stuff, not going on the internet and asking questions. But there's plenty of information out there about this stuff. So again, you should be able to research and find what you need to do something like this. And don't ever go on there and ask what's the best, because that's just such an ignorant statement. So anyway, enough of that. I'm gonna finish the valves on this side, and then I've got to get some work done on this thing. I really feel like I've been slacking on it. So I want to get this thing together, get this done for him, get this done for me, to get it out of my shop, because I've got stuff stacking up I've got to get done. And and it's funny, because I was as I'm working on this thing, I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to see what kind of numbers this thing's gonna make, and what kind of torque it does with this cam and this setup and everything. I'm just working away, and then I'm like, wait a minute, this thing's all-wheel drive. We're not even gonna be able to put it on the dyno. So I was very disappointed about that, because I really want to know what this thing's gonna put down as far as torque goes, because I think with this cam combo and everything, I think it's really going to make a lot of torque and be a very good combo. The only thing I would think might affect it would be the heads, because they're rectangular port. I've learned that on my red 2500 that the cathedrals did a lot better down low, and obviously that's true. So I don't know how it's going to work. I'm very curious to see how it's going to work, but again, it's sad because we can't put it on the dyno because all-wheel drive. So and this guy apparently already has HP tuner, so he's supposed to be sending me his MPVI 2, so I can don't have to charge him to license it on my MPVI 2, because that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. If he's already got his MPVI 2 and it's licensed to this truck, I'll go ahead and use it. I don't know if he's licensed the fuel pump control module, and I don't know. I'm probably going to run it through the fuel pump control module, and then we can manipulate the fuel pump with the fuel pump control module. So I'll have to see about that when I get there, but what the fuel pump control module does is, since there's no return on the truck yet, what it does is it's going to change the voltage of the pump to meet what fuel pressure you want. So again, I hadn't really been last week was just horrible, so I haven't really thought about that. But we got the rails, he's got the regulator and all that stuff, so I'm going to get everything set up. After I get these valve springs done, I'm going to get his injectors in, the fuel rails, and start laying out his fuel system and all. He said that he did put the flex on there, so I'd like to see how it does on a little bit of ethanol content, about E50 or E60. But I don't know if he has E85 where he's at, but I mean, he must have it somewhere if he put the sensor on. But anyway, that's enough rambling and whatnot for now. On this, I guess, the 57, we got it going and everything, and then he was just so distraught and whatever. Again, people that don't know something about anything, and so the speedometer doesn't work because this is a 700 R4 with an electronic VSS, and his was a turbo 350 with a mechanical speedometer going to some little, I don't know, like a little drive box that converted the cable driven thing to an electronic signal and went to his gauges. It's an aftermarket dash. I don't know whose they are. Who, like a Dakota Digital or something. Typically they have their name all over it. So I didn't see any manufacturer's information on it, but I ordered a mechanical speedometer parts, because this is a 2-inch housing for the speedometer. The hole's 2 inches, and then it has the gear and the worm gear and the everything to hook up his old stuff back on here to try to get his speedometer working, so we can get this car out of here. Because my morning ritual is open the shop, get this backed up out of my way so I can let the truck down, because it's just this car needs to be gone. So anyway, we got the Trailblazer. That's turned into a whole big huge debacle, and so anyway, we shipped the transmission back to Doug. Unfortunately, Doug was in a motorbike accident, dirt bikes. He was dirt biking and crashed and messed up pretty good, so he has compartment syndrome or something. So apparently his arm's not useful right now, and so anyway, this guy's just having a conniption fit, and now all of a sudden we've got to move, we've got to hustle, we've got to get this thing done, we've got to get it on the road, and his truck is okay. I understand it's been some time. I've done all I can do. I have, it took time for the engine to get done. It took, it's funny because we dropped the engine off. That took forever on the engine side. And the transmission was, sitting on the bench over here. So we had the transmission there ready to go. And then we get the truck all together. Transmission's first thing to exit stage right. So again, now all of a sudden, it's an emergency. We got to get this thing going. We gotta get it done. Change everything. Blah 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 blah. So Doug had just messaged me about this whole deal, and then he messages me same day about it. And again, now everything's an emergency. We got to get it done right now. So he's wanting to find another transmission, get another guy, do whatever, we got to get it going this week. So him and his buddy found somebody to build one, and then I don't have a core. So, that's their deal. They find a transmission, they find a builder, get me a transmission, it's going back together, and then it's gone. That's that. So, and the other thing with that is it ain't going nowhere until this is done, because until this is done enough where I can get it off the lift, I'm not putting the transmission in on the ground. So I've got to get this together enough and running so I can get it off the lift, so I can get that in to get it done. Michael has been absolutely slammed with the dyno, so God knows when he'll be able to get it back in to do the tune-up on it. So I'm sure now he's going to want to find another tuner and take it to them or something. But, I don't know what to do. I have done everything I can do about the situation. Sometimes things take time, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's out of my hands. The engine part was out of my hands. We got it. I got it on it and got the truck together and done for him. Then the transmission failed. I got it out, got it sent off to Doug. Doug had an unfortunate event. And I will say about Doug, he is a absolute stand-up dude, because I don't know anybody. My local transmission guy, if anything like this would have happened and he wants his money back from this thing, sorry, tough luck. Doug said, I get it. I'll send you your money back today. And Doug refunded his money on this thing. And again, I don't know of anybody else that would have done that. So, I can't thank Doug enough for being a stand-up guy about this whole situation, because even with the big companies, with the transmissions and stuff, you get one with a lifetime warranty. And then, it's a lifetime warranty, but you got to pull it out. You got to ship it to them. You got to pay shipping there, and then they fix it and do whatever. And then you got to pay to ship it back. And I remember there was one for C4s back in the day. I think it was Performance Automatics or something, but they had a lifetime warranty, one of these, or, a C4. And that was always a deal breaker, because, the money you spend in shipping, and Doug paid to have this thing shipped back to him. So, I'm very impressed with how well Doug handles business, because like I say, even my local transmission guy that I've dealt with over 20 years, and him and my mother went to school together, he would not do that for me. I know that for an absolute fact. So, it's especially in a performance application. So, that's that situation. But anyway, just want to give an update on this thing, and I hope I can do some better progress this week with this thing, and try to get it get it mobile, so I can at least get it off the lift and everything. So, because if you build a shop, don't do 40 foot long, because with the location of the lift and the table, that's all the room I have to work around on the front of this thing. So once I get done with what I need to under the truck, then I got to get this thing rolled back because I'm tired of squeezing through this tight space here. So I don't know. I thought about moving this table on that wall over there because there's not enough room with the crew cab truck, and then like I say, with that 57 in here, I got to have this up in the air so I can move the 57 under it just enough to close the door. So anyway, I'm gonna get to work.